Hey guys, welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer Board Game Spotlight. Today's game up on the tabletop here is Carcosa. And Carcosa is made by One Free Elephant. And it is for 2 to 4 players, approximately 45 minutes to 60 minutes to play, and about 14 and up in order to understand how to play the game. In Carcosa, well, actually I can just read it because it kind of defines itself the best way. Summon the city of the tattered king, one tile at a time. Using your cultists to control ley lines, conduct rituals, and influence the districts of Carcosa itself. If they displease you, you can sacrifice them to the dark waters of Lake Holly for the pleasure of the king. Well, this game is very similar to another game that you guys might have played. It's called Carcassonne. Carcassonne has a shared feeling mechanic-wise as far as playing tiles on the board. That is pretty much about all that it shares in common with, though, because this game has a bunch of really interesting and unique mechanics. Now, the first thing you need to know about is how the board is set up and how everything is laid out. Every single character is going to get runes, and they're going to get runes from 2 to 7, as well as there is 4 starting spaces that can be set up in any way you would like as long as it follows the game's rule requirements. I'm just setting it up like this. That's just a perfect way of setting it up. I'll explain a little bit about that in a second. Next, everybody is going to get one of these little building areas, which will have like their insane asylum in their room that they're getting better in, and then finally their ready position. You get 3 here in the ready, 1 in this room, 1 in this room, and then 3 on the board over here. You're also going to get a singular main cultist piece that goes here, and this one is used for placement when it comes to drawing tiles. Everybody's going to get that stuff. These 3 extra guys on the board are not used unless they are pulled from the board and put into your ready position to be used as additional units. So not really additional action, but they're additional placements that you can do, similar to Carcassonne style. Now, on your turn, it's fairly simple. You're going to be taking one of your guys here. If you go 50, Brown is going first. He's taking one of this guy here, and he's going to place it somewhere. And when he places it on a location, he's going to take the tile of the location he placed it on. And there's 6 locations in a 4-player game, 5 in a 3-player game, and 4 in a 2-player game. Once he does that, he's going to look at, obviously, the back of the tile, and that's kind of how he distinguishes what the tile is. Now, they're very different on the front and the back side as far as events that may occur on the bottom side, but as far as placement goes, it is rather similar. So you're going to go ahead and try and place it on the board somewhere, and it has to match up with Carcassonne rules, which has to be a city has to connect to a city, a ley line has to connect to a ley line, and if there's water, it connects to the water area. Now, if you try and connect it in a wrong fashion, it's not going to work, because you need to make sure that the land connects to the land, and the ley lines like attach to ley line areas. And you can look on the Kickstarter for him to explain exactly how placement works, but it's fairly straightforward. After you do that, you can then choose to take one of your little cultists here and place it on the tile that you place down. If you want, you can place it either on the ley line of the tile you place down, the city portion, or the land portion, whatever you want to call it, as well as these other interesting tiles. There's a couple other interesting tiles, too, that do similar things. Nevertheless, you can choose to either place or not place. Also, on your turn, you're going to be moving one of your guys who's laying in your sanity area, your little asylum area, over to the waiting room, and then the waiting room guy over to the ready. Additionally, you're going to be scoring. So as you continue to place different little guys here and picking up new spots on the board, these areas are going to be locked out. So Brown went first and then Orange goes. These both are locked out so that neither player left over, the blue and the purple, are going to be able to choose these 2 areas. And then once again, we're going to place. Now, you cannot, unlike Carcassonne, you cannot place your character, your little cultist, on a location that already has an attached meeple to it. However, you can do it. You can do it off the side, and you're not going to score with people when you do that. If it connects, it's whoever has the most cultists, as well as any other location like a ley line and so on. You're only going to score points on land tiles. So whenever you connect and securely close off a land tile, you're going to get a certain amount of points, and it's 2 points per tile space or per land space. As well as the ley lines, you're actually not getting points for that. You're instead getting rune power. So if you close off a ley line, you have a meeple on that ley line, and let's say it's 3 tiles long, right? You would then use these runes. These runes automatically start flipped face over like this. They're flipped face over, and you can still see that they're 2 to 3 or 2 to 7. And if you connect to a ley line that has 3, you flip over this 3, and you'll be able to use that as an ability on your turn, or sometimes whenever you want. The 3 says that we are Legion, and that's the ability. It says that you can deploy another cultist on your turn, so instead of playing just 1 on your turn, you could play 2 down. And you might want to place them, obviously, on different areas, like one would be a land piece, and one other might be a ley line, or maybe 2 separate land pieces, right? Now, you don't score bonus points for having additional units on the same land piece. You only get the singular bonus points. So if it's a 6 point scoring continent, you're going to get 6 points even if you had 3 guys on it. Every time you score, you're going to move up the score tracker over here, which will indicate your amount of spaces moved. And until somebody gets to the very end of the scoring track, that will determine the end of game trigger, which could be that that player has to score 3 more times, which is basically making cultists go insane. Or if 2 piles end up running out, that could be another game-ending trigger. There's a couple other ones, I believe, as well. And the game's going to progress, and this board's going to get big, and you're going to be placing all these different things. The last really important thing that I'd like to mention about the game is that there are little notches here in the corner of a lot of these pieces, and they're going to indicate events or likelihood of events. Now, the more star angles or star points on a tile is more likely to have an event. And that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be an event, but they're going to have little yellow things that do certain things. Let me go ahead and see if I can find one really quickly here. Here's one right here. And I know it's hard to see, but there's going to be a little yellow guy here. Sometimes there's monsters that will let you eat units to gain more points. Like they were saying, throwing into the water. You can throw units into the water to gain points. But this one will actually give you an additional unit to be put into your ready, which is an extra guy you can put on the board, which is beneficial. And there's a couple other events that do different things. And you can also move tiles off of the board that are in place. They're not actually secured until you score the place. Once it's scored, all the tiles flip, obviously. And that is when you're going to be collecting. Now, this wouldn't actually score, but if it was fully connected... Oh, there's another bonus guy. If it was fully connected, then it can't go anywhere. But prior to that, if it's not connected fully, somebody else, and you don't have a unit there, somebody else can take this piece off and put a new piece on, provided that it follows all the rules. There's a couple other things. But anyway, I just want to give you guys a good look at Carcosa. A really, really cool game. I really, really like this game. It has that same Carcassonne feel, but it's different enough to where I'm going to keep it in my collection because I really do enjoy it. And it does have it's more of a complexity to this game than Carcassonne. So they have similarities, and I do think it should be noted that you may or may not want to get this game if you already have Carcassonne. But for me, I feel there's enough complexity, there's enough additional... there's a bunch of different things that happen. There's a different way the game ends. There's different placements. You're going to gain points for certain things and not for other things, as well as you're going to gain abilities for certain things, as well as other things. The components are wonderful. The tiles are wonderful. I don't even believe this is a prototype. That's how good this thing is. I mean, it is a prototype from what I'm guessing, but it looks... If this is what the game is when it's done, it is good to go. And I really, really support this game. You should definitely check it out. There's only about a day or 2 left on the Kickstarter, and I got this game yesterday, so you have to give me some slack. We only got to play it a couple times, 3 or 4 times, but it was still very, very enjoyable. We want to get as many plays through. It plays really well at 2, plays better at 3, and even better at 4. I really enjoy it. It's more complicated, but I really enjoy it at 4 players. The last thing to mention is there's a little elephant that's included in the game, and you might want to know why. That's because it's free.